right, thank you again uh, for joining us today. And we would like to start by thanking USAA for making today's webinar, Supporting the Well-Being of Youth in Caregiver Roles, possible. And we always welcome professionals who work with military-connected children to our parent trainings. And we think you will find the information and tips we present very useful. But just please know that our MSEC parent support webinars have been designed with parents as the target audience. And before we introduce ourselves, we want to share with you a bit more about MSEC and its mission. Okay. The Military Child Education Coalition, or MSEC, is a nonprofit organization established more than 25 years ago. And our mission is to support all military-connected children by educating, advocating, and collaborating to resolve education challenges associated with the military lifestyle. In 2005, MSEC formalized support and programming for military-connected parents so that they may be empowered, informed, and proactive in supporting their children's educational journey. We strive to deliver informative and interactive webinars that address academic, social, and emotional issues associated with a military family lifestyle. Our vision is that every military-connected child is college, work, and life ready. Thank you and welcome again. My name is Mariela River. I am a Master Bilingual Parent Educator. I've been with MSEC since 2014 in different capacities. I am also a military and Army spouse. My husband is active duty and we're located in at JBLM here on the West Coast in Washington State. And we've been here for about 2 years and we have been part of the military life for about 16 years now. We have 3 daughters, a 17-year-old, a 15, and a 14. So we have relocated quite a few times. My oldest daughter has been already in 7 different schools, and we have been overseas as well. So things have been, I think we have lived the military life almost by the book with all these every 2-year moves. And well, I'm very glad you're here. I'm also part of the MSEC en Español team where we provide these webinars and information to the Hispanic speaking community in our military, for our military families. And now I pass the baton to my colleague, Mary.
Thanks, Mariela. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie McGarry, and I am joining you from just outside of DC in Northern Virginia. I am an active duty Army spouse of 23 years and a proud mom to 2 military connected teens. I have a son that is a rising sophomore at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, and my daughter just graduated on Monday from high school and is headed to the University of Louisville. So it has been a busy week for sure. I have been with MSEC since 2017. I started out in El Paso, Texas as a parent educator and currently work on the webinar teams and also do professional and student development. So I'm really happy to be with all of you today. We do have a couple of administrative announcements before we begin, or continue, I should say. At the end of the webinar, we invite you to take our survey about today's presentation. We really would appreciate it if you took the 2 to 3 minutes it will require for you to give us your feedback. That's a key method that we use to tell our funders what we're doing. And more importantly, it also lets us know where we need to modify things so we can continue to offer the very best training opportunities possible for you, the military connected parents that we serve. You will see that chat box on your screen. Mariela is going to be monitoring that and adding things to it during the webinar. We would also love for you to make comments. If you have any questions, please feel free to utilize that throughout our time in Zoom together today. You will also see a PDF file in your chat box that states downloadable resources. This contains the resources and information relating to today's webinar. Please know that if you are joining us by phone, you won't be able to download these resources, but no worries. If you private message us, we will be sure to get that right out to you at the end of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded. You can always view the recording later if you want to review the material or if you experience any technical difficulties during the presentation. So let's get started with our learning objectives for today. Children and youth who are serving in caregiver roles for family service members and veterans are a unique set of military-connected students. This webinar today will focus on how parents can support the well-being of military-connected youth in caregiver roles, including supportive practices and resources. Our learning objectives for today is we will start by defining youth caregivers and the impacts for caregiving families of wounded, ill, or injured service members and veterans. We'll identify strengths, challenges, and needs for the youth in caregiver roles. And finally, we'll explore practices and services to support the well-being of youth in caregiving roles. So, who are our youth caregivers? They are the children, youth, and young adults up to age 18 who are actively involved or currently impacted by the care needs of the wounded, ill, or injured veteran in their lives. There are approximately 2.3 million children under the age of 18 living with a disabled veteran in communities across the United States. The National Military Family Association and Bloom in 2022 conducted some research and found that 34% of military-connected teens reported that they had a wounded, ill, or injured serving parent. The work of these youth caregivers is often unseen, unrecognized, and unsupported. And it's not uncommon for youth caregivers to get lost in the family's response to caring for their service member or their veteran. We need to shift our focus from the mindset of children of caregivers to children as caregivers. So we wanted to start by sharing this video about a family who is involved for caring for their wounded service member, and it is put together by our friends at Sesame Street.
I'm Jack Zimmerman.
There we go.
I'm Jack Zimmerman. I'm a dad and a father to two little boys and a husband to my wife, Meg.
I'm a caregiver.
Sorry, not sure why. Let's see, let's try this again.
I'm Jack Zimmerman. I'm a dad and a father to two little boys and a husband to my wife, Meg.
I'm a caregiver, a mom, and a wife. My son William is 6, and my son Benjamin is 4.
I served in the Army, served with the 101st Airborne Division in Afghanistan, where I stepped on a IED that resulted in me losing both of my legs and severely wounding both my arms. When I first came home, my first waking moments was in the hospital room, and at that point I had to figure out what the rest of my life was going to be like, and I had to go figure out what the world was going to look like to me now. A world that was made for people that aren't always in a wheelchair.
The first year was really, really hard. 4 to 5 times a day doing wound care, trying to get those injuries healed up. I had so many dreams and aspirations of how I thought my life would look like. And truthfully, all of that came crashing down.
It's really hard as a human being not to be able to move freely, you know? But what I realized was that I had to make a choice at that point that I was not going to let an IED define the rest of my life. I still take my kids to school, but instead of walking to the door, we roll to the door.
It was important for us to find roles that worked specifically for Jack so that he could still be the dad that he wanted to be to our children. Jack has surprised me in so many ways as being a father. Anything that our boys ask him to do, he finds a way to do it. Whether that's going out and playing baseball with them or t-ball with them, he's able to help out with putting pajamas on or bedtime routine. He makes it work, and our boys love nothing more than having that special time with dad.
Good job, Benjamin. I look at my whole family as a team. I look at mom and dad as the leaders of our family, and the kids also play an important role in our family as well. As long as everybody contributes, that's what really matters at the end of the day. My kids are able to keep in the front of their mind all the time that their dad has different needs than maybe a lot of other kids' dads. The boys are always really good about telling their friends, like, hey, keep your shoes out of the doorway. Hey, keep stuff out of the walkway for my dad to roll through, and stuff like that. But it's incredible at the age that they're at, that how much care and compassion they can show me.
Me and my little brother Benny, we help him, like sometimes Dad gets a pain on his leg and then I just kind of rub it around. I feel happy. I like to help him a lot.
Giving them an opportunity to be a part of my care and be a part of my recovery, this is the greatest joy in the world. It's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. When I go and I ask somebody to open a door for me, I invite them onto my team. I know that they're helping me get to whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve.
I think that is such a powerful video, and I love the use of the word team and support, and how that family has really worked together and has learned together to overcome those challenges that were presented by the unforeseen circumstances that happened to that particular soldier. So turn it over to Mariella to talk a little bit more about our wounded, ill, and injured service members and veterans.
Thank you. Yes, let's spend a moment and explore deeper into the life of a wounded warrior. It is not uncommon that the service member appears to be fine initially after coming back from a deployment, but sometimes they can develop PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder later, right? And maybe as a family, we think of that seemingly like it seemed like it came out of nowhere, right? And a lot of the times we often assume that we can see injuries, illness, or wounds, just like it was shown in the video. But invisible injuries can equally impact the service member or veteran. For example, brain injuries or depression, or as I mentioned, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, mood disorders, or anxieties. And these are all examples of what is called operational stress injuries, or OSI, also known as invisible injuries. According to a Camp Corral report, only 8% of wounded warrior parents live with a visible wound. 46% of wounded warrior parents live with an invisible wound or unseen and often unacknowledged. And 31% of wounded warrior parents live with both visible and invisible wounds. Some service members face medical discharge or retirement, and this is due to the fact that the service member is unable to perform his or her duties. If the service member is medically discharged or retired, the family has to move, especially if they live on the military installation. And Camp Corral reports that 83% of children's wounded warrior parents have separated from service, and this results in a drastic decrease in services available to military children. We know that if the family has to move, well, children may have to change school, and they might have to leave their familiar surroundings and peer connections. We know that that's part of the lifestyle of the military families. Every 2-3 years, we move, but in this case, might be unexpected, and that causes some stress in children. Most of the wounded service members and veterans are entitled to VA benefits, but yet the road to recovery is individual and sometimes complex. The wounded warrior is dealing with a disability and at the same time with the additional stress of feelings of grief or guilt or feelings of fear or anger, while at the same time they have to navigate the healthcare system. And therefore, their families may also experience injury-related stressors and all the ups and downs of the illness or the injury itself, and the way they have to navigate the system. Now let's talk about how this situation impacts youth caregivers. We would like to ask you, what do you think are some of the impacts on youth caregivers? And we love to read your responses in the chat. What could be some of the impacts on youth caregivers? Well, while you are typing, we want to share with you that a survey made by RAND in 2023, it was released on September 24, found that there are approximately 14.3 million military and veteran caregivers. And quite often, caregivers are families and friends. And the report found that 65 to 70% are family and over 20% are friends and neighbors. In many cases, the family is learning to support the wounded warrior and maintain some level of normalcy. And this actually becomes a learning experience for the entire family. As the video showed, every family member is dealing with the change, including a change and unpredictability in either parent's ability to care for their children. And having to navigate national and local barriers to speed high quality care is a significant concern that impacts the well-being of the whole family. Another concern are medical costs, right? In an Elizabeth Dole Foundation study, one caregiver said that the VA told them that the waiting time to get mental health support by the VA was about 3 months. So the family made the decision to obtain outside care at their own cost. So those are situations that impact the whole family, right? In this slide, you will see a QR code. This is our newest podcast titled Military Kids as Caregivers. So we invite you to scan the QR code and you can listen. And this is an Apple podcast, so if you don't have it, which you can just download here and then click again, and then we'll take you to the podcast. Well, as we could see in the video, when we have a wounded or ill service member, the family must establish new norms and deal with high levels of stress. And research found that families that experience high levels of disruption as a result of injury were more likely to report high levels of child distress. Unfortunately, also, the parents' stress can trickle down to impact their children. For example, the wounded warrior service member or veteran will need increased trips to the hospital or other services, and children, well, may miss school or activities that they're used to do. And in some instances, the child might have to live with friends or extended family members during times when the wounded veteran receives treatment, causing more disruption for the child. So there's so many changes, right, that can impact our children. Many times when they're younger kids, families have to look for childcare while the wounded warrior needs to get treatment. And that can be especially problematic probably during the summer months and when school is out or during late afternoons or evenings, right? And if we remember what we mentioned, most of the families, or if the soldiers discharged, they probably moved away from military installations. So that gets a little more complicated or more challenging. Youth caregivers also often take new responsibilities that go beyond typical chores. And the RAND survey in 2024 found that 40% of children in military and veteran caregiver households help with one or more caregiving tasks, compared with about 25% of children in civilian caregiver households. The most common caregiving tasks that are reported by around a fifth of children in military and veteran caregiving households were assisting with administration of medicine or pills or shots, also helping the care recipient to talk with doctors or nurses, and providing transportation for the care recipient. It is quite interesting. And before I mentioned probably a little personal experience, I'm going to pass it to Mary, that she's going to also talk about the strength of youth caregivers.
Great, thanks, Mariella. So we talked a lot about the challenges. So let's talk a little bit about the strengths of our youth caregivers. Drawing from literature, there are several findings that point to many themes relating to children's well-being. Studies suggest that the mental health of the disabled parent may influence both positive and negative experiences. So let's start with the positive first. And these positive factors are often related as referred to as protective factors. So what is a protective factor? Think of a protective factor. You can think of it like a shield or a buffer that help to mitigate some of those negative experiences. The family often developed strong family bonds, and you really saw some beautiful evidence in that first video that we showed you. And that is a really critical protective factor that can mitigate a lot of those other adverse impacts. Studies found that many children saw themselves as no different from their non-caregiving peers and often responded positively to the challenges posed by caregiving. So even at the young age of those two little boys in the video, they really felt that they were helping and contributing, simply by maybe reminding their friends to move their shoes out of the way, or helping to comfort the dad when he was experiencing that pain. And that was really empowering for them and impactful. Additionally, youth caregivers learn to develop resilience by adjusting and using positive approaches. And some children said that they took pride in helping their families as well in engaging in caregiving activities for that injured or ill service member at home. Most of the youth caregivers demonstrated a strong sense of self, and very few children reported that they felt alone or useless or unworthy. Sesame Street in Communities notes that as the family adapts to the changes in that family dynamic, there are opportunities for learning moments for children. opportunities to stretch the child's imagination, to watch that injured parent solve problems and do great things. It helps them to learn compassion and empathy. It also gives them a greater sense of community support. One mother told the researcher that she sees her young child caring profoundly for people in a way that his peers do not. He wants to help strangers that might be struggling to reach something in the grocery store. And she doesn't always notice other children her child's age doing that. Additionally, the recent RAND survey found that youth caregivers scored higher on pro-social behaviors as well as empathy. So we've mentioned some challenges, but there are some other challenges that we also wanted to make you aware of. And of course, one caveat is that the challenges are going to depend on each family's situation, as well as the child's age, maturity level, and their temperament. Some youth caregivers do say that they feel cut off from family and friends, and it's not uncommon that the caregiving family no longer has the time or perhaps the financial resources to let their children participate in programs or after school activities. This also means that youth caregivers may have fewer opportunities to interact with their peers. Many youth caregivers express challenges with making friends, yet parents believe that it's easy for their children to do so. Some studies also suggest that children may internalize or externalize the stress by displaying increased issues around behavior. Some children may struggle with the changes at home. They may think that they caused this injury somehow, and some fear that the other parent will get hurt too. And also the loss of control or their feeling of control in these situations may cause mood swings in children or cause children to grieve for the parent who is wounded. So to grieve that loss, I think the mom in that video expressed that beautifully, expressed that loss for what she thought things were going to be like, or that family situation is not how it used to be. And so grieving that loss is part of the process as well. In more extreme cases, the children themselves can become traumatized when they're exposed to a traumatic event, like seeing a parent seriously injured, or if a parent is experiencing a serious mental health crisis or illness. In many caregiver households, it's not uncommon that the youth have more worries, they have more stress, and have less time to pursue their own interests and goals. So these challenges can be overwhelming and often can take the forefront and impact the progression of us pursuing those academic goals, or even just completing daily homework or studying for tests. So there's often an academic impact as well. So we have another video that we would like to share with you about, again, presented by Sesame Street, about what it is like to care for a wounded warrior who has experienced a traumatic brain injury and the unique challenges that this family faces.
Sometimes mom has hard days. We call it stress day.
When I'm having a hard day, my family takes care of me.
This is where I come in to not only show that I love her, but also I'm here for her as her caregiver. Cariño, vamos a dejar a mami descansar. ¿Está bien? Gracias, amor.
If my brain can rest, then I'm good. Let me recharge.
When mom needs to recharge, I let Ali know that, mom had a hard day or she's going through certain things. So I'd read her book. We like to draw.
Before, she was always very concerned, like, what's wrong? Why is she crying? But now that she understands, like, hey, this is just temporary. She knows that that's me healing.
There are days that I can't really get her out of bed, and so I'm the only one in the house that has to keep the house running, like, getting the kids ready for school, cook for the family, make sure the house is clean. When Jacob can be maybe overwhelming for mommy, I don't mind taking over. It's like a natural instinct, and I love being a father to him.
He'll pay the bills now because numbers for me, they get all jumbled up and it's stressful. And he drives me to my therapy.
I make my bed when my mom has stress days. I give her hugs and kisses. When you get hugs and kisses, it feels so good. When my mom forgets things, I write her a list.
We need milk. And I'll help her do the spelling and things like that because she's, 7. And then as the day goes on, we cross things off.
When my mom has a migraine, I give her some water. I take it up to her bed.
It's actually brought us closer in the long run.
Are you okay?
I'll be fine. Just need a rest.
I love you, Mom. We all love you. Something happens and you're really upset, just breathe and calm down, and then you just have to move forward.
That's great advice for all of us, right? Breathe and be calm and move forward. So Mariella is going to chat with you a little bit more about the video and our wounded warriors.
Thank you. Yes, this is also a wonderful video. It shows this different dynamic, right, in the family and how they deal with the situation in the best way possible. And we would like to hear from you, and you can type your answer in the chat. What surprised you about the wounded warrior? Take a few moments, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, Marie. What do you think? What surprised you about the wounded warrior?
I think how that family dynamic clearly shifted, and how much people were willing to step in and embrace those new roles. It sounded like, the husband was now paying the bills. That was something that she had done before, and how they negotiated that. And I also loved the language that they used in talking with their children about the mom's needs. And so talking about having a hard day, and that being something that 7-year-old could understand. So I thought the family did a really beautiful job with that.
Yeah, definitely age appropriate, right? How they teach them how to
Right.
manage that. But I also think that is very interesting, because a lot of the perception is that often wounded warriors are male. And because the husband is probably the primary caregiver, right? So this video shows that it's a female, and she doesn't have visible wounds, right? This is what we're talking before about invisible wounds. So this is a female, this is a mom, and if you meet her on the market or outside, you would not tell, but you could not tell that she's a wounded warrior. So I think that's amazing about that. Now let's see what surprised you about the youth caregiver. And I think you mentioned, Mary, the way she talks as well, right, to the mom, and say, oh, she needs hugs, she needs kisses, and I do my bed. So the age of a child in this video, it's, as we mentioned, right, the way she understands is, or they help her to understand of her mother's injury, is age appropriate.
And just the maturity level, I think, for her, and the level of compassion that she has at such a young age, and that, that warrior ethos. And then how the mom is so gracious about accepting that help, and admitting when she is having a bad day, and then the child saying, these are the things that I can do to help when she has, I think she calls it a mind grain. It's so sweet, about bringing her water and coming in. And so I think and I love that they said it really has brought them closer too.
Right. And I love that now there are a lot more studies on caregivers, right? And how a situation impacts the well-being of the caregiver. And obviously, we're here focused for our youth. And it is important to see there are different ages, young kids and teenagers and young adults that are our children, helping to support the family and to care for the wounded warrior. So, what are some of the best or supportive practices that we can do to support our youth caregivers? And this is what we're going to talk about now. Peer support and connectedness. According to the Elizabeth Dole Foundation report, youth caregivers share that they value most their relationships with other military kids who are youth caregivers because they understand the culture of a military caregiving family. There are after school clubs that offer there are offers specifically for military students, such as a student to student or S2S. And these clubs can create opportunities to connect with the students with similar experiences. S2S was established in 2004, and it's a peer-to-peer student-led program that brings military and civilian students together to welcome new students and create a positive environment and ease school transition. So you can see on the slide a QR code with the link for S2S, and we're going to type that on the chat as well, so you can click and know more about the program and this initiative. And I love it. Here in the school that my daughters go to, in the middle school, they have a junior S2S, and it's fantastic. It's after school program, and they meet all the new military kids and they do tours, and it's wonderful. And also my daughter's high school, she has S2S, or student to student, and they also do the same and provide support for all these military kids. If there is no an S2S program close to your installation, you can also look for opportunities for military connected youth caregivers to connect through programs sponsored by military nonprofit organizations that support youth, such as the Elizabeth Dole Foundation's Hidden Helpers or the Wounded Warrior Program. Additionally, Camp Corral offers programs specifically for caregiving youth of wounded, ill, and fallen military heroes. I'm going to add this information in the chat as well, so you can take a look. And they're also on our resource document or PDF that you can download. Okay, in this slide, you can see a picture of a program, a Caregiving Youth Student Leadership Program. MSIC, we're very glad to share that we're now offering the Caregiving Youth Student Leadership Program. In this image, it's a photo from the last youth caregiver get together. This was it's usually a 5-day leadership training at the University of Texas in San Antonio. And this is for high school caregiving youth with leadership potential, representing all branches of the armed forces, including National Guard and reserves. And all of them are invited to apply. So if you are the parent or know a teen at high school that has the role of caregiving, please share this information with them. In this program, students engage in leadership activities and lessons focused on preparing to be college, work, and life ready following high school graduation. The 2025 application is now closed. But don't worry, the 2026 program will open applications in early fall, and the retreat is scheduled for February. So it's wonderful because the participation is free to selected applicants, and the Caregiving Youth Student Leadership Program is supported through our partnership with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and the Wounded Warrior Project. So please take this opportunity and stay tuned for our new application window. All right. And now let's continue to move to supportive practices with Mary.
Thanks. We are going to now focus on the supportive practice of communication. Youth caregivers said that they often struggled with understanding the evolving nature of their parent or family member's illness or injury, and also how to have fun with their parent. So it's important to share age-appropriate information with them. Explain that the recovery of the wounded, ill, or injured veteran can fluctuate. It's unpredictable. Be truthful. Not telling children the truth often increases the risk that they overhear adults or they come up with their own explanation. Or it might also make them feel that they're not worthy of an explanation. So keep those lines of communication open with them. Reiterate that they are loved, that they are safe, that they are cared for. Another suggestion is to ask school personnel to check in regularly with your child. This could be an informal conversation with a teacher or a counselor that they trust, even if it's just for a couple of minutes. You may also want to ask the school if there's a local mentoring program in the area that your child could participate in. Sometimes these programs are offered virtually as well, so that would be something to explore with your school. And speaking about the schools, there are supportive practices that can be offered by your local school and school district. Caregivers often tell us that there is a lack of flexibility, especially if the parent has to take the child out of school for medical appointments. This can often be due to a lack of awareness by school personnel regarding the child's family situation. Undoubtedly, it's understandable that some families don't want to share the information with the school because of the perceived stigma that can be sometimes attached to wounded warriors, especially if the wounded warrior has an invisible injury. But at the same time, helping the children to build positive relationships with educators, such as classroom teachers and school counselors, can also help to mitigate those caregiver concerns. So it's certainly something to think about and to discuss with your family. As well as trusted people at the school. So consider communicating with the child's school, the classroom teacher, the counselor, to address maybe short and long-term needs and your family dynamics as well. If it's difficult to get to the school, you can also ask for a virtual conference. Also, those virtual conferences will make it easier for the wounded warrior to join in as well. And think about, as you're communicating with the school, you might also want to consider involving the child in the process, or allow for input from the student beforehand about what might be helpful at school, if there's an adult at school that they can trust to go to for support. And then work together to set realistic expectations, to watch for any deviation in the student's behavior or their academic performance. You might also need to involve some tutoring or after-school help or support as well to help with homework or preparing for tests. In terms of that academic support, tutor.com does offer free virtual tutoring sessions to eligible military families, including wounded warriors. And Khan Academy is another resource that provides free homework help and study guides. And we have included both of those resources in the chat box, and they are also in your reference or your PDF as well. So Marielle has a great quote to share.
Yes. This quote is from a youth caregiver, and it says, "I don't have a lot of friends who have dads with PTSD and anxiety. I will talk to my sister about it sometimes, or I won't say anything. Most of the time, I keep it inside." Well, let's just let that sink for a moment, because it tells us a lot about what's going on inside our youth's mind, right? So how can we be supported to our youth that might be thinking the same way, right? Well, supporting the mental health and emotional needs of our youth caregivers is delicate, but it's very important. And as parents, you might already be familiar with some of our information. But our goal today is to remind us to recognize, validate, support, and accept the unique experiences of our youth caregivers. Youth caregivers share that they need help with personal perseverance to navigate the challenges they face. They also need help with getting others to understand their unique circumstances, including adults and their peers. A lack of understanding and acceptance can leave them feeling very lonely and many times isolated. Remember, our youth are growing, are learning to become adults. So many of the time, many of their feelings for them is very hard to express. So we need to help them to recognize them and validate them and help them to express themselves. There's very important is the key there is very important to have adults that can be supported, right? Key adults such as teachers, school counselors, family, friends, that can help our youth caregivers, especially those adults that are able to communicate with openness and acceptance. This means that these key adults, they are able to recognize and honor and accept the youth's viewpoint. It's very important to have someone who's available to listen without judgment. And we understand that it's not always possible as a caregiver parent. If you are the other parent that is also caring for the wounded warrior. So having another trusted key adult in your child's life that they can turn to when you might not be available, it's very important. It could be a family friend, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, and fortunately now we have ways to communicate, right, virtually, and just over the phone or text, and that's very important. We know that youth are many times reluctant to share their thoughts with the caregiver parent in many, just in a normal day life, right? Our teens or our youth, a lot of the times they don't want to share. But in these situations, they might not want to share how they're feeling because they worry that they are adding more stress to the caregiver parent. So please think about a key adult that your child knows and trusts, because this adult can give your child a safe space to talk and ask questions. So just take a moment and think and reflect who could be those adults in your child's life that they can be a trusted key adult for them. It is important to help children understand that they did not create or cause this new situation. It's also important to validate their feelings, but mostly important for children to hear an age-appropriate explanation about what has happened or changed with the wounded warrior, just like we saw in the video for young kids, right? We need to be aware of our child's emotional response to changes. It's not unusual to see changes in their behavior after a major event or traumatic experience. So just be aware of that. I know as caregiver parents, we're often too busy trying to keep everything afloat. It is very important to help our children see and make connections between their emotions and their thoughts, right? For example, if you notice that your kid is more relaxed when they're petting the dog or doing an activity, you can say, hey, I noticed that when you're petting the dog, you seem more relaxed and happier. So you are helping them to understand that emotion and the connection between what they're thinking and how they're feeling. Younger children also may benefit from drawing their feelings, especially if they are struggling with language or verbally expressing emotions. So have them color with them, and what do you see in this picture? Oh, I like it. Oh, why does this person look sad or stressed? So just being aware of that. Let's continue to some other supportive practice with mental health with Mary.
Great. Thanks, Mariella. So let's talk a little bit about self-compassion. Take our advice from the airlines, right? About putting on our own oxygen mask first before we can help others. It's important for the caregiver adult as well as for the youth caregiver to take time for themselves. Encourage your youth to do activities outside of the home with friends or to take a break in their room if needed. Let them know that it's okay to be sad sometimes, and give your child room to feel sad about that situation or to feel their feelings. While we don't want sadness to be a permanent emotion, it is absolutely a normal one given the circumstances. Do watch for signs that additional help might be needed. If your child starts to experience physical symptoms, withdrawing from social situations, depression, if you notice a drop in their grades, maybe they are sleeping excessively, maybe they are missing school a lot. So a change in a behavior or their behavior might be an early sign that the child is struggling with some of the challenges or changes at home. Don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional like a pediatrician or a counselor. Counseling can provide a safe space for children to work through their emotions and also may help you as a parent to find new ways to support your child. So we do want to share two counseling options. One is Military One Source, which offers both clinical and non-medical counseling services, including virtual options for support. And then the Cohen Veterans Network is a nonprofit philanthropic network of mental health clinics that serve veterans and military families. The clinic can help children with several concerns, including life adjustments, limited focus or attention. They're experiencing grief or loss, anxiety, depression, or other issues. It's an excellent, excellent resource. And Mariella has put both of those in the chat box, and they also are available in your downloadable resource. So the next topic, I really love this strategy. It's called Handle with Care. So we have a quick poll for you. Have you ever heard of a Handle with Care note? I'll give you a minute to answer that. Yes, awesome. That's great. I wish I had, I was a classroom teacher for a number of years, and this would have been a great resource. So I certainly have filed it away. But the Handle with Care is a terrific resource. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. But as a parent, you are the key figure in the life of your children. You can provide them with support and help them to understand the struggles that they may be experiencing. So whether your child is going into a new classroom, maybe they're working with a new coach, or they have a new childcare provider, there are going to be times when you need to share your family dynamic with other adults in your child's life, but maybe you're not quite sure of how to really explain your unique caregiving situation as a family that is caring for an ill or wounded service member or veteran. So keeping the children, those key adults in your child's life, informed of potential changes or challenges, it enables them to better support your child if they are having a hard day, or if they're feeling fragile, or maybe they're struggling. Having a Handle with Care policy with the adults in your child's life can allow you to communicate those changes in your child's behavior without necessarily sharing a lot of the specific details. The Handle with Care notes creates a discreet way to communicate when a child may be more reactive or sensitive due to circumstances at home, while also ensuring their privacy. So this is a policy that helps to create a judgment-free, student-centered relationship between professionals, students, and families. And as we already mentioned, there are going to be some ups and downs, and some days will be harder than others for a variety of reasons. And so sometimes it helps to know where to start, and the Handle with Care approach is certainly very easy. So it's something that you can establish with the key adults in your child's life. Let them know that you would like to use this Handle with Care note system. It's simply a note. It can be handwritten or email or a text. Maybe it's even a phone call if that's how your child's teacher prefers or counselor or coach prefers to communicate. And you just are telling them that your child or youth needs some extra care on that specific day. And then their part of the agreement is that no questions or details are going to be asked for, but that understanding that this is going to be a Handle with Care day. We have provided you with some sample resources of what that letter might look like in your resource. At the same time, children can also learn to advocate for themselves by using the Handle with Care policy to self-identify when they might be struggling or feeling off due to family challenges without having to share those specific or personal details. It can help the child to connect with their educators and other key adults, and they can provide that additional support when they're needed. So maybe it's something that maybe you as the parent initiate this, but as the year goes along or your child grows, at a different age or stage in their life, that they can also say, you know what, I'm having a Handle with Care day, or let the teacher know that. The Handle with Care policy also keeps key adults in your children's life informed of those potential challenges or changes. And ultimately, it empowers children to seek help and recognize their own limitations, which I think we can all agree is a life skill that all of us need to learn and to practice. Mariella?
Thank you. We want to encourage you to prioritize well-being, right? Often, as the primary caregiver for your family, you put everyone's needs before your own. If that is your case and you're taking care of a wounded warrior or ill soldier, it is important to remember to take care of yourself, so you have the energy and patience to care for your family. And here are a few gentle ways to prioritize your own care without taking away from your family, right? Put your mask on first. I love that. So if you have ever flown on an airplane and heard the safety briefing, you know that in the event of an emergency, you should put your mask on before you put on your child's mask on them. The reason is simple. If you put your child's mask on first and become incapacitated before putting on your own mask, you will care for you and your child. So make sure you prioritize your well-being so you can be the parent and partner you want to be for your family. And here's when I want to briefly share with you a personal experience. My husband got injured last year, and he was ill for about 9 months, and he was in bed. He was at home. 9 months is a lot. He got a very serious back injury. And it was kind of a suddenly situation. It was unexpected, and that changed all the dynamic. So for us, everything changed on the routines of our daughters, and it added a lot of stress as parent caregiver. So probably I needed to prioritize my well-being first, and just by putting my mask on first to be able to help my family in the best way possible, and my husband. But after spending these 9 months as caregivers and my youth as youth caregivers as well, I have a lot more respect, and I honor families that are dealing with this situation and had changed their life. So one of the other things that we can do is breathing, right? Some of the little things that you can do, just some breathing techniques. There is one called box breathing. It's a simple relaxation technique that helps restore breathing to normal after a stressful experience, also known as a combat breathing. And it's often used by soldiers as they prepare for a recover from high-risk situations. So it's very simple. You just sit back and comfortable. You close your eyes and then you breathe through your nose while counting to 4 slowly. And then you hold your breath. And then while counting slowly to 4 and trying not to clamp your mouth or nose shut, and slowly exhale for 4 seconds. So you can repeat these 3 more times. And if you find it difficult to repeat 4 times, just start with 3 rounds. And you can increase to 5 or 6 rounds as it becomes easier for you. This is also a great technique to use for your children and to help them return breathing to normal after a stressful event. Another easy way to take care of yourself is not, just take 15. It's not always possible to schedule large blocks of time for your own well-being. So instead, look at 4 small moments that give you the opportunity to regroup. For example, get up 15 minutes early to enjoy a cup of coffee before everyone wakes up and the house is still quiet. Or you can download a book to your phone or listen to a podcast, listen to music. Use the school pickup line as a quiet moment to read or to do something that you want, right? Taking time for ourselves also communicates to our children and youth that self-compassion is essential for our well-being. And by giving yourself grace, you're practicing self-compassion and by being kind to yourself as well. So remember, you are doing the best you can with what you have, and that is enough. So some of our final thoughts, right? We hope that you will use some of the suggestions and resources that we share with you today. Just 3 key takeaways that we want to highlight is number 1, communicate. Whether it's talking with your child or as a family or talking with the school, communication is crucial as a caregiving family. Number 2, make mental health a priority, not just for the wounded warrior, but also for your children and for yourself. And number 3, don't forget to reach out for help if needed. That's extremely important. All right. Thank you. And we're going to pass it to Mary to give some interesting information from us.
Great. Thanks, Mariella. So thank you all for joining us. We would love to hear from you and invite you to take our survey on today's webinar. And you can do that by clicking on the survey link right in the box on your screen. It'll only take a few minutes and we'd really appreciate your feedback. You also can scan that QR code and connects you quickly to our survey. Hold up your camera and scan that. And then once you're in the survey, you want to type in the 4, or in this case today, 5-digit webinar number, which is 10525, and then hit submit at the end of the survey. If you don't fill out the survey now, following this webinar, you will receive an email invitation to take the survey. And again, we do use this to make ongoing improvements to our webinar series. So we appreciate the 2 to 3 minutes of your time that you will need to complete that. We also invite you to check out SchoolQuest. It's an online interactive tool specifically designed to support highly mobile military families and students. It has lots of great resources and tips to help students achieve academic success and well-being. It's a great one to use during this busy PCS season. So you can sign up using that QR code or the link today, and it is free. If you do have questions or concerns or educational related issues for your military connected children, then you are in luck. Our military student consultants, or MSCs, are great resources to look for those answers, and they will provide you with one-on-one help to get your questions answered. To contact Mark or Terry, you can use the QR code or the link that Mariella has provided in the chat box. We also wanted to share with you our well-being toolkit. It was developed for parents, school professionals, behavioral mental health professionals, and community leaders. It's a tool that is full of resources for all aspects of military-connected children's well-being, and we'd love for you to explore it on our website, as well as share it with others. If you've missed one of our previous webinars, or especially if you'd like to share this session, the recordings can be found on our website at militarychild.org, and we are also on YouTube as well, and you can scan that QR code for more information. And if you recognize one of these lovely ladies, we are excited to announce webinars that are presented specifically for our Spanish-speaking military community. Please join the lovely Mariella that was with us today, and as well as her colleague Yasmina at the end of each month for these special webinar presentations funded by HEB. As with the rest of our webinars, they will begin at noon Eastern Standard Time. Our next En Espanol webinar is on June 26th on creating strong families, and the registration link to that is in the chat. If you are interested in obtaining a certificate of completion, please complete that online survey and then contact research@militarychild.org as well. We also wanted to invite you to our GTS. We will be offering 2 GTS sessions, our Global Training Summits. One will happen on Monday, September 22nd at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one will happen on Friday, September 26th in Austin, Texas. It will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in both locations. Registration has already opened, and so we put the link to register in the chat, and is also, you can use the QR code on your screen for more information and to register as well. So we do have 2 more webinars coming up this summer. We have one on June 17th, Developing Great Readers, perfect time for that, so have everybody reading during the summer break. And then on Tuesday, July 29th, we have What is a Purple Star School? And the links to register for both of those are in your chat box. And finally, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us today on the webinar, and also give a special thank you to USAA for making today's webinar possible. Mariella and I will stay on for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. Otherwise, we hope you have a wonderful afternoon.